Welcome everybody, and we'll welcome people as they come in. George will continue to bring people in from the waiting room. My name is Bert Bender, and I am the Atlanta Area Council New Member Coordinator. And this is Spring into Scouting. So let me go ahead and share a presentation, and that way you won't have to watch, hopefully, a very big head of mine. You can just watch what we're going to be putting up here for us to talk about. Spring into Scouting, that actually isn't just a plan from this year, it was the plan last year. We really wanted to have a spring in 2020 of unit-directed spring recruiting built around fun activities like camping, hiking, biking, whatever that families could do right away so that they would have fun with other families. It would be no stress. There's no fussing about, getting rank advancement done for a full program year. They could just do stuff and like scouting and get to know other families. And we thought and believe that that is a great foundation for fall recruiting. And that was the plan. And then everything, of course, went to COVID hell. And here we are. We are now a year later. We're actually a full calendar year from everything shutting down. And this year, we really mean it. We want spring recruiting. And we've updated the Pack Leader Guide to Family Recruiting, and we're updating the website sources to focus on that. As we do that, we've looked again at why families would join Cub Scouting. Kids want to do fun stuff. They probably don't want to sit around on a Zoom meeting. They want to get out, do things with other kids. They would like to do things if they're old enough with knives. They all like campfires. So outdoor stuff is fun for kids. It's what they would like. Adults, right now, a lot of adults are going to say, we want to do Cub Scouting if it's safe, and only if it's safe. And there are other reasons why they might want to do it, because maybe they did it before, they see other families doing it, they know that it's a values program, but ultimately the key in 2021 is they'll do it if it's safe. When can they join? Historically, way too much recruiting in the Atlanta Area Council was focused on school sign-up nights. School sign-up nights are great. School sign-up nights didn't happen last fall, except for rare instances, and probably aren't going to happen as much this year as since schools are still going to be very tentative about doing any sort of after-school programs. They have enough to deal with as they try to keep their places safe. So when can a family join? The answer is basically anytime there's a pack or den event. If you have something fun going on, invite other families. Anytime they're in contact with somebody from your pack, somebody says, hey, we're doing a hike this weekend. Do you want to do this with us? Can they sign up then? Why, absolutely they can. And so we've got a bunch of examples there of fun events that families might join and decide, hey, we do want to do scouting. The concept of having pack-directed recruiting this spring so that it's not directed by a district executive and a school principal is packs have the power to do their own recruiting, the right size for their pack. So that means looking hard at, what's our program plan? Do we have enough leaders to support more people? What do we need to do about recruiting? How many can we recruit? So that can allow a pack to modulate how much they're going to recruit youth or what the tone of their recruiting is going to be. If you've got plenty of den leaders who are just aching to have more families show up for their events, recruit as many youth and families as you can. If you don't have enough den leaders, pull people in, do fun stuff, and that way you can work with them on creating an environment where they can participate, where they can join, and you can grow your pack to fit into the leader foundation you built. So just as we launched back in 2019 in the summer, a plan of recruiting that has these 6 steps building up to when you actually sign people up and try to get a bunch of youth to come over, we're still following those this spring because they all make sense. So let me review some of that with a little bit of twist for how it would work this spring and how it would work as we're coming out of our COVID environment. Number one, first step, what are you doing? What are you asking families to do? And that's super important now because there's very few families, hopefully, that would just be willing to drop their kid off and not wonder what they're doing and how safe it is. Very few families are going to want to get their kids in a situation where they could come in contact with COVID, where they could bring it home to them or grandma or great aunt or great uncle. So they're going to want to know, what does the program do and is it safe? The good news is we all know that outdoors is safer than indoors. And since 2015, the Cub Scouting program is an outdoor program more than an indoor program. Frankly, almost any adventure in the Cub Scout handbook can be done in the out of doors, and it's going to be more fun in the out of doors than it would be in a school room or a church basement or a gymnasium. So that's good news for us. PACs are going to wonder, what do we do? How do we go about it? And I've outlined a spectrum here of how PACs might come back into having in-person program. If you look at the left side of that spectrum, once upon a time, basically a little more than a year ago, most Cub Scouting was in-person group activities, den meetings, PAC activities, and that's the way we did it. There were a few things that had to be done at home, but ultimately most would be done in a den or PAC forum. With COVID, there are some PACs who either went completely dormant or had only family-led activity from home. Maybe they also did Zoom meetings and the like, or they just shared with each other on Zoom and other virtual platforms as they were doing adventures from home. Family-led activity in the time of pandemic is the safest approach because it allows families who have a higher concern about COVID, worried about the risks, to still do scouting, but do it in a way that's safe for them. Frankly, I think as most dens and PACs come back out into scouting this spring, a lot of them are going to be somewhere in the middle. Maybe they're more in person, maybe they're more doing it from home in small family groups. And I think a lot of PACs will have some people who are happy to do small activities and others who are going to be more reluctant, who will like to maybe see the pictures and video later and follow along from home so that when they feel it's safe, they'll get back out. Ultimately, for scouting activities, we need to be sure that we keep it safe and follow requirements, not just of the CDC and scouting, but of your chartered organization, of where you meet. So a lot of schools will say can't come in the building. They may say okay to be on the playground. Churches will have limits on, can you be in the building? How many people can be outside? So we have to be sure that we follow their requirements. Now, the good news for Cub Scouting is a key method of Cub Scouting isn't belonging to a PAC. A key method is belonging to a den. And a den is smaller. It's fun sized. It's enough for a kid to get their head around. They can know the kids in a PAC. If they have 50 kids in a troop, they're never going to know all those guys. So you can actually have safer activities if you focus on den activities, especially if you do them outdoors. And especially if, and this is a wise thing for leaders to do, to require more parental attendance so that you've got parents who can enforce safety rules and it's not all dumped on the den leader like it sometimes happens. For those who want to do scouting from home and not go to den activities, there are many more resources than there were 12 months ago. And these resources, especially the Cub Scout advancement resource pages, you know, the family-led plans and the streamlined plans there, while they, you know, the family-led plans were designed for COVID in a sense, they're also designed for group activities and dens, because the more you share with your other families what your hiking activity is, or your camping activity is, or your nature activity is, the more they can help lead part of the program. And that will help a lot with the foundation for successful and sustainable recruiting. This is just a screenshot of the Southern Crescent website that has all 97 adventures in Cub Scouting. Each one of those blue hyperlinks is another page, and all of that is just super easy to share with your families. So anyway, how packs reopen, what they do, what you do in Cub Scouting this spring. We know that group activity is what we want to move towards, as long as it's safe, and there are so many ways to do it safely. I will flag here that there are some folks who, when they hear the emphasis on den activities, some will think, oh no, for JTE purposes, we need to have, I forget what number of pack meetings it is. That's what it says on the front page of the JTE sheet. On the back page, it says you need to have, I think it's 8 pack meetings or activities. So you don't have to all sit in a church basement or gym with 50 families to have a pack meeting. You can have a pack activity that might even be done as a satellite, where different dens start out on a trail at different times, or maybe you're on different trails, but you're all doing it as a pack activity for the month, even if you're doing it different times. If we stay safe, Baden-Powell will approve of it, so smaller activities are cool. And every activity is, you know, it's going to be sad when you plan something and you want a lot of families to be there, but you know, don't be sad if someone says, oh, not this, not yet. Just if you're doing a hike, encourage them to do a hike around their neighborhood or in the local park, and share with them those adventure plans so that they can get more out of it and pass more on to their kids. So that's step one. What's your program? Step two, let people know what the program is. How are you coming back online? So your first group, especially if you're restarting your program, is let your current families know. Also, let the families know who were on the roster last year but didn't re-up this year. Hey, we're getting back active. Here's our schedule of fishing and biking and kite flying and STEM activities, so that they know what's going on. Many ways to do it. We've got a fulsome web page with everything from flyers to do-it-yourself flyers to Facebook ads, geofencing, targeting people, so that your pack activity, your pack promotion, your pack advertisement can pop up on somebody's Facebook feed, simply because they have gone through an area that you have geofenced, so that they have that ad pop up. Ways to reach kids and parents. This is the ultimate promotion. I've highlighted 2 of those up there. Kid-to-kid promotion. That's the way that they're gonna join and get fired up. Now, there are some kids who will do it if they, you know, their parents say, you're gonna do Cub Scouting. But hey, face it, if a friend says, hey, we're doing a rocket launch at the schoolyard this weekend, you should come along, or we're doing a Pinewood Derby and our pack is letting anybody join the Derby, we're going to have extra cars that you can have and race yourself. A kid who gets fired up about that, you're already 90% of the way there. Same thing with parents. Family to family pitch. You know, you could have Baden-Powell himself come and talk to a parent and talk about the virtues of scouting, and that is not going to be as persuasive as a mom telling another mom, my daughter is doing Cub Scouting. She has learned so much about the outdoors and hiking and uh, cooking on a campfire. We're doing it in a small group. It's safe. And we think that you guys would like to do it too. Will you come and join us? That's going to be much more powerful. Think of it as, you know, you may read a fancy, well-written review of a restaurant or a movie, and you'll think, okay, maybe. But if you have a friend tell you, oh, you're going to love the new movie that dropped on Netflix, or you've got to try the new takeout burrito place on the square. It is just fabulous. That's going to be a lot more meaningful to you, and you're going to be more likely to take a friend's word, than a peer's word, than you will some expert. That's just the way life is. That said, you still do the other things. You try to share ways to make people see what we're doing in Cub Scouting. And that's a real key, to have them actually see it, especially as we're coming out of COVID. Because you can describe what a group activity might look like, but they're probably going to be more impressed if they see a photo or a video and realize, hey, these people are actually doing something fun and they're doing something safe. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. Other flyer material, other promotion material you will have available to you. Atlanta Area Council flyers. These have down on the first page at the bottom, there's stock information there for a generic flyer, but that can be tailored to your pack activity that's going to be a spring into scouting activity, so that if it's a Pinewood Derby or a kite fly or a bike rodeo, you put your information, you know, who, what, when, where, why on there, and maybe even a QR code to give them even more information and links to your photos, video, website, and the like. Council also has the traditional resources like yard signs and stickers and peer-to-peer cards for kids to hand out. Yard signs this year, you will see, are going to be a lot easier to read, because most of them, as I understand it, are being pre-printed with that text "Join Scouts" to 31996, which if you haven't done it, you can test it out right now. You can see what link you'll get. And that way there will be hopefully less magic marker fading into oblivion, or cursive writing, which is wonderful when you get a letter or a postcard, but maybe hard to read when it's on a yard sign. Hopefully this will be a clearer message for families to join, and these will be available to you through your district professional. But wait, there's more. You can make your own flyers. These are two examples that came from the pack in Hightower Trail, and they have information, pretty easy, 2 pages here, and a QR code for a deeper dive for more information about the pack. You could also put a QR code for your application. Here's another example of a flyer that we used in our pack when we decided we were going to be, well, A, not allowed to meet in the school, B, it's not safe to meet at the school. We decided to call it Family Fun Size Cub Scouting, and we described what our activities were going to be, done from home, but sharing with photos and videos. And again, in the bottom of the page, there's a QR code so that a family with this could access the QR code and go right to sign up. So that's promotion. Having events and promoting them is good only if you have enough leaders and helpers to put on the program and do it safely. And key steps for that are, number one, check with who you had last year. Do they want to come back? Can they come back? We've had a lot of leaders who, because of COVID, are still not able to be back helping and leading, just because in some cases they've had additional burdens Sometimes it's a happy burden in that they're working harder and getting paid more because their job has gotten tougher during the time of pandemic. Sometimes it's for sadder reasons where they have to be taking care of people. So check in with, leaders and find out how they are and what they can do, and don't let them feel guilty because if they can't be a den leader this spring, that they can't participate at all. You want to be sure they stay with you, and be sure that you are asking others to help, assist, and eventually lead, because if you give everybody something small to do, that is a great way to get people to be involved and to help you put on good program. An easy way to get parents involved who haven't been leaders is to just ask them to be new member coordinators. They don't have to learn a lot about Cub Scouting. They don't have to put on a khaki uniform. In fact, it is probably more approachable if they don't, so that they can be welcoming just as another family member. And just by helping out in that way, more families can realize, oh, it's not just khaki shirt people who are helping out here. It's other moms and dads doing that. Frankly, if you have a good toolkit, which we'll get to in a second, but you sort of saw a second ago with a flyer that has basic information, all they have to do is when somebody new or old, welcome whoever comes in to your fun den or pack event. If they are members of the pack, welcome them, glad to see you again. If they are new, welcome them as new people, introduce them around, let them show them how to participate, let them get into the flow of things, because that can be a great way to take a burden off of a den leader or a cub master. They don't have to be the ones handling all of that. And it allows parents to actually have a role. Welcoming people is a pretty darn easy role. And you can get, you can give people other jobs that will help you in recruiting. Photo gatherers, or we put it on our district website one year as paparazzi. And we had somebody immediately volunteer to be the district paparazzi. You can have your pack or den paparazzi taking the photos, taking the video. If they're really savvy with Facebook and online photo and video sites, let them start to curate that, so they're not just sending it to you as the den leader or cub master. Let them participate by being the photographer, being the person who's running those sites, so that they can help you get the word out. There's various other jobs we've got here for new member coordinators, people who like scouting but want to see more families participate, but maybe don't want to be a den leader. A reason why they should want to do this, by the way, is if they get enough families to join and they don't want to be a den leader, maybe one of those new families will produce the next den leader. So that is a plus for getting people on board with that. Fourth step, which is sort of related to promotion, but it's kind of a key step, because you want to have a good partnership with your school and your community. In part, you want them to know that you're still doing things. At our school, for our Cub Scout pack, because the Cub Scouts aren't there, that means that some of the staff think there's no Cub Scouting going on. So we have to open those lines of communication, be sure that they know what we're doing, share information with your principal, PTA, PTO, school staff. We are still doing scouting. Yes, we're not in the building because you don't want us there, and that's cool. But we are doing it. We're doing it safely, and here's how we're doing it. There are ways, as we start to get back, more schools are opening up, that you can do promotion through the school if they're on your side with end of the year parties. It could be a simple picnic. It could be a fun event, something as big as a Pinewood Derby, a bike rodeo, or it could just be a simple den hike. Let people know that the school is invited, that other classmates are invited to participate with you. Your district professionals will be super keen on having school relationships because they want to get a sign-up event of some sort on the calendar and promoted by the school. It's probably not going to be school sign-up night, especially this spring, but at some point it will be. When the schools do open, the district professional is going to be in there and working to create an opportunity so that you can have a bigger sign-up event, which will be great because if you built a spring foundation of bringing in a few new families who are into scouting, you'll have a better foundation for hopefully a fall sign-up night at the school. And another way to build on your presence with the school, with the community, is do service projects that benefit the school. That's going to make them like you more. Be sure they know what you did. Take pictures, take video, get on the school newsletter, get on the school website, get on the school Facebook page. Same thing with the community. If you're helping a church, community center, let people know so that they know Cub Scouting is active and they are out there, and look at what PAC 1234 is doing. You never know when somebody is going to see something like that, be impressed by it, see that it's valuable, and that they want to join. So there's, let me just highlight this as a key. Hopefully, end of July, beginning of August, whatever is that early date for reopening schools come the next school year. Hopefully there will be in-person open house, meet and greet, registration day, call it what you will. And if you are allowed there, either in or outside, those are great events. You, of course, need to have permission. You can't just show up and expect to be in because there still may be limits on how many people are lingering in the hallways. But if you can be there, be there. If you can't be inside, see if you can be outside. If you can be inside, see if you can also be outside, because maybe having a tent or a fire pit to make s'mores or something like that would be permitted by the school. And if you have a tent or a fire pit or a Pinewood Derby track set up, wow, that is likely to attract more attention than just having a table inside. That's also a great time to have lots of parents, not just leaders, talking parent to parent, have kids, kid to kid recruiting, because that way you can have that one-on-one tailoring. I've done a lot of these because that's the main way that we've recruited at our school, and we found that every pitch was different. You know, the kid who is wild and runs towards the tent is going to need a different pitch, wild and more exciting, than the kid who's clinging to mom and, you know, afraid to come up to a stranger. Different pitch. We're not going to talk about wild scouting for the clingy kid. Instead, we're going to talk about how it's a safe family place. You'll get to do safe things that, you know, mom and dad can come to, your brothers and sisters can come. That is a lot more successful than giving just a one-size-fits-all pitch about, you know, BBs, archery, and fire at a school sign-up. So also a great opportunity to have a one-on-one discussion where you can get an idea about, is this person leader material? Sometimes you will know in seconds that the person isn't leader material, or that the person really is somebody worth having a circle back on, because you find out something as you're talking to someone one-on-one at that event. So here we are, built a foundation of, you've got a program plan, things to do, it's safe, you've let people know, you got the word out, you have a base of leaders to get started. So let's have a sign-up event this spring. And so the idea is actually have more than one sign-up event, because anything that you do as a den or a pack that is fun, that a family can come and participate in, could be a sign-up event. And, you know, even if you only have one or two families show up at, say, a den hike or bike ride or fishing event, that's one or two. And then maybe you get, you know, one or two 2 weeks from now. And eventually you're going to be onboarding people, especially by having those one-on-one chats with new families who are interested in you. And that's, I think, going to be very successful. You can also do just joining sign-up events where maybe an outdoor area, you pitch the families on scouting, sort of like a sign-up night, very quick, maybe even done station to station style. And that is a great way to go too. Just be sure you have something fun for them to do shortly after that. But you remember that a lot of folks, they may be wondering, if I'm hearing about what you're doing, I want to be sure that when it's done, that it's going to be done safely and that it is fun. And so that's why actually having fun activities can be a great way to prove it to people, and they'll see what they can do when they join scouting. So school sign-up night, if it happens, the district executive will set that up with you and will also do a buzz up, ideally a day before the event. Your district professional will be happy to also be at your joining events. You just have to coordinate. And that's also a great help in getting people onboarded, because you've got somebody else there who really is, well, frankly, in the business of selling scouting. I mentioned earlier the idea of having a sign-up toolkit, something your new member coordinators can have, and frankly, any leader could have at any time in their purse or backpack or briefcase in the car that you can hand to anybody at any time. And that's just basic information that you would want people to have at a sign-up night, but that they can take whenever you meet them. Contact list of leaders, maybe other families, so that they can get immediately connected with them. What you're doing, what your calendar of activities is. Some brief getting started FAQs, like maybe how to get handbooks, what the uniform deal is, what your dues program is. That can be very, very useful for new families. And then obviously you want them to sign up. So having the route to do that is critical. And the most easy way for a family and for a pack is through the online registration through Be a Scout. Why is it easy for a pack? Because no paper, no collecting checks, no trying to figure out exactly what the amount is, what month it's got to be prorated by. There's no long division, because when they sign up, even if they sign up in this month, they are going to pay for the rest of the calendar year. That takes the collection burden off of the pack. It puts it into the phone of the family. So you can share this anytime, and your new member coordinator volunteer who you have working a den or pack event can have those and share those as a way to talk about scouting. Now, when you have a big event, we've got a plan for that. We've got a script, and that's in the guide, and it'll also be posted on the sign-up event page on the Atlanta Area Council site. Really hasn't changed a lot from last year, except there's a little more emphasis on safety. The way you do it, the script can work whether you're in person, whether you're virtual, whether you're doing a group presentation, or whether you're having a station-to-station event. Good idea to assign speakers who will cover something briefly and then move on to the next topic. Your district professional can be there and have some of the roles in that. And we encourage you to copy it, edit it, and adapt it to fit your pack and what you're doing, so that you can get the key message out there. Small events may not need a big speech. You just need that one-on-one contact. And if you have a toolkit handout, then a lot of the information that a family would be getting from a big speech is going to be in that, plus in the conversation that you have with the 1, 2, or 3 new families. What the script looks like is this: you welcome, share what your pack activities are so that you get families fired up about what we're going to do in the future. Yes, there is information, especially as you look at the new program year, about den advancement and handbooks. good news for spring recruiting. You can probably just say, we'll talk about this in August when we get geared up for the new year, because what we want to do with you new guys right now is let's work on the Bobcat badge and fun. So you can simplify that in spring sign up. You'll probably have to talk about den leadership. If you're in a happy situation, you will say, hello, new family, here is your den leader. You may be in a situation where you have to say, look at all these great tiger families, these great first grade people. We're going to do a lot of stuff as a group of families this spring and into the summer. And then we'll talk about who's a wolf den leader come August. But if you have families who are out there doing things with their kids in a cooperative way, you'll be able to see, who's got the potential to be a leader. Uniforms, key thing to edit for your script is what your pack deal is, because the registration fees are expensive enough. The full cost of all the parts of a uniform kit are more than twice that. So you do want to talk about whether your pack does have a full uniform policy, or is the blue shirt enough? There's no hard and fast rule. We don't want to have cost be a barrier. And frankly, the more scouts get involved and fired up, the more they'll want to acquire more uniform pieces, so that'll solve itself. And you talk about costs, including what your pack dues are and how you'll collect it. This spring, obviously, there may not be a lot of cost to incur. So you may have, for the tail end of this program year, either very little that a new family has to incur, or maybe the pack can absorb that if they have monies left over. And ideally, at any sign-up event, you want to get them to say yes, get them to submit that application. And if they don't, that's okay. Stay in touch, invite them to the next event, send them a note. You can write in cursive if you send them a letter. Other issues in sign-up events, when the council comes up with a flyer for a sign-up event this spring or in the fall, you guys can echo that. Be sure that you get an electronic copy, hard copies if you need it, but electronic especially, because it's so easy to share that on your PAC Facebook site. Put it in an email to people. Have families who are at that grade level send it to other families, because the worst of all possible worlds is the flyer gets handed out in school and ends up all crumpled up in the bottom of the backpack, and you don't find it until the end of the school year when you dump out the backpack and see what was there. Happens. If people get it from the backpack and also an email and see it on a Facebook post, you're better off because they're getting the word on it. Best thing for any sign-up event, any event where any new family is, be welcoming, be positive. I'm new on the vestry of my church, again, every 20 years. It's like a cicada. And the stories we have about why we love our church are because there was always someone who was at the front door of the church greeting us every Sunday when we came in, greeting us by name. In my case, not my name, but consistently Dave. If you can greet people, try to get their name right. I mean, I love the fact that I was named Dave. It's my confirmation name in that church. But greet people, have name tags, get to know them, because that's going to make a big difference about whether they feel like this den is a community that we want to be in. Sign-ups at Packer Den fun events. Yeah, the key is families are going to see what you do, and kids are going to say, I want to do that too. And don't worry about whether you have a lot of people there or not. We had a lot of big sign-up events last fall that didn't have a lot of people or didn't have any people. Every new scout is going to make a difference. It's going to make a difference in that family's life, not just the kid, also the parents. When you do get them in the pack, you're going to want to, when you get enough new people, you're going to want to have an orientation about how you're going to be doing things in the new program year. Probably don't have to have a lot of that this spring, but plan for this for when you have hopefully a bigger influx in the fall, so that parents get information about how you guys operate. In the spring, a lot of it can be real happy orientation talk, like sharing ideas about what we want to do next fall. You know, are we going to want to do a big trip in January, or where do we want to go camping and when in October? What additional activities do we want to have? The cool thing is, a lot of parents, even if they're new, will have some idea about something that they want to do. And so this spring, that's a great topic of conversation. You know, what other activities can we add? Because you're not unsuccessful if only a third or half of the den shows up at, say, a 4th of July parade or a swim party at the local pool. Because if you get a few people there and you're doing scouting, that's just going to be able to magnify as they invite more families to participate and join scouting with you. At some point, especially come the end of summer, you may have to have an orientation with a den or a pack where you have the talk about how parents have to step up as leaders. Good news is we have a script for that, other tools, ways to get that message across, but also, frankly, sharing things like the family-led adventures, the streamlined adventures, scouting on demand items where parents are leading their own kids. That is a great gateway of turning a parent into a leader, because if they can lead their own scout, or if you can hand them a hiking plan, show them the few lines where it says, these are the key facts about the Cub Scout 6 essentials for hiking, and cut that parent loose to do that, the more they're going to feel comfortable that they can lead. Don't forget, recognition is important. So when you do get them to step up and do anything, even if it's just helping to, you know, turn burgers on the barbecue grill at a spring picnic, make a big, huge deal about helpers, because that will get the other families recognizing what's going on. Most importantly, it'll make the kid realize, Dad, they loved you. They gave you a patch. You don't have to tell the kid that it was an overstock patch from an event in 2015 that's been sitting in a closet all these years. The fact that Dad got a patch for helping out will have that kid just buzzing and wanting Dad to help out next time so that Dad gets another patch. Additional help for you to orient families is Parent Orientation Guide that is actually on the Join Cub Scouting page on the Atlanta Area Council website. So that is a way to give people a good, solid, but generic view of Cub Scouting. If you add to that what your calendar is and how you guys operate on your schedule, that'll be super helpful to new parents. As a wrap up, recruiting is all about new signups. So if somebody says, yes, we want to do it, help them through the registration process. You know, it's not as easy as just clicking on and, you know, clicking a box and putting in credit card information simply because they have to log in and create a My.Scouting profile. But it's easy enough, so that can help get people on board faster. And they don't have to hand paper and see it be turned in through 2, 3, 4 hands before it gets to the Volunteer Service Center. And those who don't sign up, don't forget about them. Just because they didn't show up to a couple events doesn't mean that they'll never join. It just may mean that you haven't found the thing that's going to get them fired up about being a member of your den and pack. And now we get to the 6th step in recruiting, and it is just that, more fun events. I mentioned asking the families you sign up this spring, hey, what should we do? Ask them what they like to do, because there are parents who actually have interests other than job and raising families. Uh, you may find that there are dads who like to golf, fish, uh, they may even have tailgate parties if they're not going into the stadium. If that's the case, see if you can build your program around what dads like to do and moms like to do. We know a pack in Stonewall Tell Elementary in Fulton County who actually built their pack program around that. They had all the dads say, oh, no, I can't be a den leader because I go tailgating or I go golfing, I go bowling, I go fishing. So they built their pack program around those events. They went fishing locally. Their big spring event was down to the Gulf where they went deep sea fishing. They had some who like to ski. Guess what? They went up to Maggie Valley and went skiing. It's not the Rocky Mountains, but it's fun. And they did other events. So just because you haven't done it, it hasn't been part of your program, doesn't mean you can't do it now. Because if families like to do it, or if parents, used to do it before kids, maybe now's the time to get back into it and bring the whole family along. So, ultimately keep it simple, make it fun. And if it's something that your families already know how to do, if they're willing to share it with others, that is a great way to keep it simple. And if they like doing it, it must be fun. So spring into scouting, a bit of recap. How is spring recruiting different than fall? A lot of people ask that. And it's really not, because the same steps apply. The difference this year will be hopefully more schools will be open for school nights in the fall, but not all will be. So PACs running their events, running their recruiting is going to work for both. Spring recruiting is different from fall because in the fall, you are facing a full program year. That has its advantages because you can dive into a handbook. For some, it has disadvantages because the families will look around the circle and say, who's going to be the den leader? In the spring, you don't have that issue because if you're just doing fun stuff, it's easy to go on a hike or a bike ride or fly a kite. They can just do it and don't have to stress about finishing up a rank. So the spring recruiting is different because some PACs, some dens are not meeting right now, and they may not have a lot to recruit into, and maybe some won't come back until we go back to school in August. But this can be a time for PACs and dens to come back out. They can reopen, even if you're not doing a lot. Whatever you do safely is going to be incredibly valuable for families. And a lot of families are anxious to get back and do it, and we can create that opportunity.